Okay, so let's jump right in. You've probably heard the Pali word dukkha. It's, a huge concept in Buddhist thought. And for decades, it's been translated with just one single English word, suffering. But what if that's not quite right? What if that one simple word has been making us miss the real point this whole time?
Yeah, what if the real meaning is actually something way more mechanical, more structural, and honestly, a lot more relevant to our day-to-day lives than we might think? To figure this out, we're going to break the word down piece by piece and see what we find.
So the first part of the word is do. Now, I want you to just forget about pain or sadness for a second. Think like an engineer. Do is all about a bad fit. Like a key that just won't quite turn in the lock. Or when two parts of a machine are just a little off and they're grinding against each other. It's really about a state of friction.
Okay, and the second part, that's ka. And this one's pretty straightforward. It just means the space, the state, or basically the current situation you're in. It's the context, the reality of right now. It is simply what is.
All right, so when you stick those two pieces together, something really cool happens. We get a totally new way of looking at it. Dukkha isn't just some vague feeling of suffering. It's the friction that happens when there's a misalignment, that's the do, in your current situation, that's the ka. See, it's more of a structural problem, not just a passing mood.
So, here's the absolute key takeaway. Dukkha is that specific pressure you feel when what you want to happen goes head-to-head with what is actually happening. It's that energy created in the gap between your will and reality. Now, I know this still sounds a little abstract, so let's make it super concrete with a few examples from modern life.
First up, an analogy I think we've all painfully experienced. You buy this amazing new pair of shoes, but oh no, they're just a little bit too small.
Okay, so your will, your desire, is totally clear. You want to walk around looking stylish and feeling good. But reality is stubborn. The shoes just don't fit. It's a fundamental clash between what you want and what is.
And that right there, that's the feeling. That constant nagging physical pressure, the rubbing, the chafing, that very specific discomfort that comes from the mismatch. That is dukkha. And notice, it's not the shoe's fault. It's not your foot's fault. It is the friction created between the two of.
Okay, let's take this idea and move from our feet to something a bit more industrial. Picture the inside of an engine, right? But imagine the gears just aren't lining up properly.
So, our will is simple. We want the machine to run smoothly. We want those gears to connect perfectly and transfer power just like they're supposed to. But in reality, they're misaligned. With every single turn, they are literally fighting against each other.
So what happens? You get that awful grinding sound, right? Intense heat builds up from all that friction, and the machine is just tearing itself apart. That raw energy, that noise you can hear and feel, you could almost call it the scream of the machine. That is dukkha. It's the sound of life when our desires and reality are grinding against each other. All right, let's ramp this up. We're moving from simple discomfort and mechanical failure to some serious high-stakes stress. Imagine you're driving a car on a big highway. Your will is dead set. You have to drive south. Maybe you're late for something important, but the reality of the situation, the non-negotiable rule of the road, is that it's a one-way highway and every single car is going north. This is way beyond an inconvenience. This is a direct, dangerous conflict. So what happens if you try to force it? If you just turn your car around and go, you get instant, extreme stress. The constant risk of a massive collision, horns blaring everywhere, that feeling of pure crisis, that immense pressure from fighting against a system that will not move for you. That is dukkha.
Okay, for our final analogy, let's bring it right into the now. I'm talking about an experience I can practically guarantee every single person watching has felt, probably in the last day.
You've got something urgent to do. Your will is laser-focused. I have to send this important email right now. But the reality of your situation, the internet connection is terrible, and that little loading circle is just spinning and spinning and spinning.
Ah, that feeling, that tightness in your chest, right? The wave of impatience that just washes over you. The raw frustration of your urgent need being totally blocked by a piece of technology that just doesn't care. That exact feeling is a perfect, everyday, modern example of dukkha.
Okay, so we've seen this friction, this dukkha, in shoes, in gears, on the highway, and on our screens. But why does this happen?
What's the root cause of this friction that seems to pop up everywhere in our lives?
Well, this cause actually has a name, too. It's called anicca. It's another Pali word, and it points to a really fundamental truth of existence. The world is just not controllable by my will or your will. Things change. Situations are fluid. Reality just does its own thing.
So here's how they connect, put as simply as possible. Anicca is the fact that the world doesn't come with your own personal remote control. And dukkha? Dukkha is the pressure, the stress, the friction you feel from trying to mash the buttons on that imaginary remote anyway.
And this really gets to the heart of it. The whole point isn't to make you feel helpless because the world is uncontrollable. That's just a fact of life, like gravity. The real point, the practical advice, is to simply stop trying to control it, to stop creating all that friction yourself.
You see, when you reframe dukkha from suffering to friction, it changes the entire game. This isn't some philosophy of despair. It's a practical guide. It's an instruction manual for how to reduce the pressure we put on ourselves simply by learning when to let go.
And so that's what I want to leave you with. Take a second and think about your own life, your job, your relationships, your personal goals. Where do you feel that grinding, that friction, that pressure? Ask yourself, where are my gears grinding?